Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to discuss a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's written by Stephen R. Covey, and it's a really good book. And without any further ado, let's get started. Let's find out what the points of these books are. Alright, the first thing in this book is that the book is considered to be one of the most influential books of the 20th century. The premise of the book is that individuals will not have sustained and lasting success until they're able to master the habits written in the book. Mr. Covey does not believe in the ideology of personality ethics that are often taught in order to influence and to work with others. He believes that you have to take an inside approach to change and try to truly influence people. Becoming a principle-centered, acting on well-founded principles will guide you to where and who you want to become. That's the premise of the book. Hence the reason why the first few habits are private changes that need to take place before public changes can occur. The first habit is be proactive. Very simple one. I'm sure you've heard that one before. Don't blame things on things you can't control. Acknowledge things and work within the construct of reality. Don't be reactive. Take responsibility in being proactive in ways like in the language we say to ourselves, I can, I will, and so on. Work within your influence, meaning he talks about circle of influence and who you can influence and who you are in influence of. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about circle of influence. He talks a lot about it in the book. If you want to learn more about that per se, you can go more in depth in the book. A great quote from this section of the book is, I'm not a product of my circumstances. I'm a product of my decisions. So being proactive means talking about taking responsibility, taking those decisions in your life and taking accountability for them, and saying, this is not all because of my circumstance. I have some choice. I believe he talks a little bit about another book in which I think the book's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. It's by a guy who was in the war with Nazis. He gets in prison in a bad situation where he's starved to death. There's nothing left, and he talks about what you really do have choices over, like your thoughts, your feelings, what you believe. Those things cannot be taken away from you. So, habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. So with having the beginning and end in mind, you're basically thinking about your funeral. How would you be wanting to be remembered? The question you answer, and then you work backwards to get to your goals that you want in life. And then after that, you basically create a mission statement that you want to live by, because those things will help you lead you to know exactly what you need to do. And that's a good habit to do, is like, how do I want people to perceive me as when I died, in my contributions in the world. And again, this is a internal, private habit that you're trying to instill in your soul, so that, when you go out and you remember that, every day is another day and it could be your last, gives you a better idea of how you would want to prepare yourself for that day when you do leave this world, and helps protect your legacy. So with habit 3, it kind of goes along with the other ones. Put first things first. If you want people to remember you for certain things that you did, you need to be able to try to accomplish those things. The first 2 habits, feed right into the third, because the idea of being proactive and having the end in mind can help you to put those things that are high on your priority list that you want to accomplish first. And it's connected to your mission statement and other things that are related to being principle-centered, having those principles that you're working towards instilling into your life. Covey says, putting first things first means organizing and putting those things in your life around your most important priorities. It is living and being driven by the principles you value most, not the agenda and forces surrounding you. So the agendas that other people have, maybe your parents or your boss or other people that have other goals and agendas that they want you to do. You have to decide what things you are wanting to, influence your life. And Covey talks about in depth about 4 quadrants of time management, and I found it really helpful in my own life. So if you want to learn more about that, I won't get into the nitty-gritty details about that, but there's important things and then there's the unimportant things in your life. And he talks about in depth basically using, a graph, a map of where you're spending your time. Okay, so habit number 4. It is the first habit that becomes more of a shift from private victories to public victory. And he calls this one, think win-win. The thing that he wants you to remember is this. In the long run, if it isn't win-win for both of us, we both lose. That's why win-win is the real alternative to interdependent relationships and realities. So, just like what it says, win-win is creating a situation in which everyone mutually benefits. That's why win-win is the only real alternative to interdependent relationships, if we can be able to trust each other and be able to get to the next level. So our personal relationships should really be win-win, and because it's important to be able to, have that. And it's going to be really hard because, people don't think win-win. They either think in either or. And that's really hard because some people think there's only so much of the pie, there's only so many resources. Then, scarcity type of thinking. It's going to take a paradigm shift for people to be able to want to think win-win. He talks about some character traits that would help you to be able to develop that win-win mentality. And he goes really deep into those in the book, but I'm not going to talk about them here. So if you want to learn more about that, go read the book. It's really insightful. The 5th habit is to seek to understand, then seek to be understood. I'm going to use the quote from the book to explain it the best. If you're like most people, you probably seek first to be understood. You want to get your point across. In so doing, you ignore the other person completely. Pretend that you're listening. You selectively hear only certain parts of the conversation or tend to only focus on certain words. being said, but miss the meaning entirely. So why does this happen? Because most people listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. You listen to yourself as you prepare in your mind what you're going to say, the question you are going to ask, etc. You filter everything you hear through your life experiences, your frame of reference. You check what you hear against what he calls your autobiography, or the way you have perceived your life, and see how it measures up. Consequently, you decide prematurely what the other person means before they finish communicating. So, yeah, it's important to listen first to be able to understand what the other person has to say and what they have to offer, because you may not be able to understand or see what they're saying. And, in order to communicate better, we need to understand that, what the other person has to say, what their point of view is. When we do that, we're better able to explain ourselves in a lens that most people can be receptive and more likely to understand ours as well. So when other people feel understood and heard, people are way more receptive to being able to hear you as well. It's a really good habit to learn, and it's a hard habit to learn because of that paradigm shift we need to make. So habit number 6 is synergy, or synergize. Covey equates this to being 1 + 1 = 4 or 6, or you name it. He's basically saying that synergy can compound. And synergy is much more than working with a team. It's everyone working together towards a common goal, utilizing everybody's skills and talents and contributions to accomplish something greater than themselves. This habit feeds into the other one, like the win-win and being proactive, taking responsibility for our own things. Together we can take responsibility for the creations that we make together. And, synergy is a powerful thing, and it's real. Some of the great things, he gives some examples in the book if you want to learn more about what those examples were. But all of these different habits that we make, they all intermingle. And lastly, the last one is habit 7, sharpen the saw. Now this goes back to analogy of where, someone stops and sharpens their axe or saw because they want to be most effective with their time. And if your axe or saw is getting dull, it's going to be slowing you down. You're not going to be able to chop as many trees down. So stopping that is an important thing. Feeling good just doesn't happen. Living life in a balance means taking necessary time to renew yourself. And he talks about 4 different areas that we need to take care of ourselves: body, heart, mind, spirit. So with the body, obviously exercise and eating and, making sure we're taken care of in that way. Heart means we have that relationship with people, and we try to make sure that that's good, and we have good relationships with people, and we're making those deposits into those those lives. He talks a little bit about having an emotional bank account with people. So when we give people something, it needs to be perceived to them as a deposit, and that's how we create better relationships. And then mind. It's important to read and study and to write. Those things strengthen the mind and help it stay sharp. And then the spirit, or the soul. Things like doing service and, meditating. Those types of things that, bring the intangible part of ourselves to more of a central equilibrium, I guess you could say. It's important to be able to act on all 4 of those areas and make sure we are sharpening our axe in those ways. And that, my friends, is what the 7 habits of highly effective people are. Because he says if we are doing all these things, we are going to have a really good life. And we're going to be able to make the most of our time. And, of the relationships around us. And that's really what we all want. So I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you like videos like this and would like to see more, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out, and click that notification. And if you liked it, please let me know by hitting that thumbs up. Thanks, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.